Hi, and welcome to the Boat Princess podcast. My name is Nicky Vaux, and I'm your host. I am a boat owner, a marina owner, a director on the Marina Industries Association, and a huge advocate for boating. In this series, I'm sharing the stories from every nook of the boating industry with the intention of encouraging more women to join me and for more women to get behind the helm too. I want to share the experience and opportunities of boating, of the boating industry, and I want you to join me as I bring the conversations and answer all the questions you've had. Boating is not just for the glamorous and rich and famous. It's full of beautiful and interesting people making the most of our natural environment and getting out there, enjoying the waterways. So let's set off the lines, take over the helm, and escape to the world of boating. That's a lovely thing about doing this podcast, right? I'm getting to learn things about Kay that I would never ask you at a dinner party.
Why not? I'd ask you.
But in future I will, because now that I'm doing these podcasts, I'm kind of understanding how to ask really interesting questions, not just the usual questions one asks across the lunch table when you get to catch up once a month or whatever. Same old. What are the kids doing?
Ask more in depth. You should have that anyway. If you're ADHD, you have no filter.
Yeah.
You see, when I was chairman of the National Maritime Museum, I was on the board 5-6 years first.
Yeah, we want to delve into that.
Oh, that's very funny. But we'd go to functions or whatever, and it wouldn't matter who was there. And I'd ask them questions about that. Why am I telling you this? That's what they'd say.
Yeah.
One woman told me how old she was, and she was a fashion icon, and she said, "Why did I tell you that? I have never told a living soul."
It was Carla, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't.
Because we love Carla.
I've never told anybody. Yeah. People tell me things, so I don't have to tell anybody because 9 times out of 10 I either forget or I think that was their business, and they told me that. I used to take friends and friends of theirs or people I met, like, not name dropping, but like the American ambassador, or if it was a bloke, his wife, or different people and my friends, and we'd go out sailing on First Lady just for a picnic, go over to the basin or whatever. And I'd say at the very beginning, before we leave the dock, the old thing, what is done, said or drunk on this boat never leaves this boat.
So what goes on tour stays on tour.
That's it.
Yeah.
And boy, they used to relax.
Yeah.
It was extraordinary.
Yeah.
It was extraordinary. And we had so much fun.
Yeah, I'll often say to my girlfriends, this is a circle of trust or a vault. Yeah. We're talking in the vault now. And it never goes any further. And if as a good friend, you've got to understand what's got to stay in the vault.
Yeah.
So that you remain a good friend.
Yeah. We talked about doing a B&B here in the place because we've got a separate cottage and things like that. And Peter said, "I can't imagine you having strangers staying there. You're such a hermit." And I thought about it after a while and I thought, no, I don't really want strangers staying there.
So that is part of the character trait then perhaps that allowed you to be somebody that could go around the world on your own, that whole being very comfortable on your own and wanting to be alone at times.
Could be.
Yeah. Because that's how you feel comfortable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although a lot of people say I'm a people person, and I am a people person. I mean, I've got lots of fantastic friends who I love dearly.
Yeah.
They know if I'm off doing something.
Yeah.
We might talk to each other for a while, some of us.
Yes.
I mean, Fredo, for example. Fredo and I talk, a couple of times a year maybe, but it's just like, and she's in WA now, but it's just like yesterday since we talked, and we talk about anything and everything.
That's a sign of a good friend, I think, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, it is. Well, all my friends are like that.
Yeah, I've got lots of friends like that.
Very lucky.
I'm like that. I've got some beautiful friends that I've literally not talked to them for 6 months, and then you pick up the phone and they sound, it's like you saw each other yesterday.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, we're very blessed to have friends like that. So what do you think the qualities are that you need to be a marina owner?
Oh. But I have a thick hide. My husband does most of the he does virtually all of the running. The staff call me the troubleshooter, so I'll step in, and if he's away or whatever, Peter calls me the troublemaker because I don't do things quite how he'd do it.
Yeah,
and I'm a bit more lenient, I would have to say, on certain things.
Yeah. So if you were talking to a 25-year-old girl, she's just done her uni courses and blah, 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 and she wanted to get into the boating industry, what would you suggest is a possible pathway to eventually being a marina owner?
Being a marina owner?
Yeah. Got to start somewhere, right?
Well...
Or even managing a marina. Let's go managing a marina. What skill sets do you think they need to learn and be part of?
Well, you need to know different boats for a start. So you could be, I don't know, you'd have to spend a bit of time on boats and understand some of the lingo and the parts of boats.
There is a lot of lingo. There is a lot of lingo.
There is a lot of lingo. It's another language, really.
Yeah.
You could learn that language, and you could be crew on big boats overseas or whatever. You can take on as being a broker.
Yeah.
You need to know a bit of lingo and the difference between a catamaran and a motorboat, a sailing catamaran, I mean. I don't know. There's lots of ways. Places crying out for marine electronics engineers. I mean, or even just marine electronics, electrical guys, or
mechanics are a bit.
Mechanics, engineers, diesel engineers. There's all sorts of things you could do. You could, if you're a crew on a boat for a certain length of time, you could step into getting your tickets, your coxswains and your master class 5 or whatever, and go on from there. I mean, there's endless. You could study architecture. What I actually wanted to do, first of all, when I was younger, I wanted to be an industrial designer. And then that changed, and then I got into boat building almost by accident, and then, accident because we couldn't afford a boat builder, so I did it.
Of course you did.
So you could do one thing I wanted to do was design interiors of boats. And because I've kind of got a 3D visual mind that can see things and spaces and what you could do with the spaces, and I got my first commission just before I left for my trip.
Oh wow, that would have been conflicting for you.
Well, not really, because the trip took priority over everything.
Because you planned it for goodness sakes, how long would you?
Yeah, and this commission came in, and I did all the rough drawings, and that's as far as I got before I left. And when I got back, one of the first things I wanted to do was go and have a look at the boat, because it had been finished in that time. And they'd followed my rough drawings.
Wow.
Wasn't quite finished that I would have put, but it was the layout. And that's something that I've always been interested in and still would like to do. I've designed the interior of all the boats I've built, and also I've designed a few houses.
In your spare time?
Houses, things. I also used to be a dress designer and
Did you?
sewing. Yeah.
I didn't know about that. When was that?
Yeah. I used to do it for friends. I still, right up until a year or so ago, a couple of girlfriends, I used to make all their designer clothes to wear to work.
Wow.
Because I like sewing. Mum was a dressmaker tailor. So we were making our own school uniforms at 12.
Gosh.
And I still dabble in that. I've got a pile of sewing in there because friends always get me to fix things or make things or alter things. I'm just altering a suit for a friend at the moment, and it's driving me insane because I'm getting so old. I need the sunlight if I've got to unpick all the sleeves. Sometimes I lose it. I mean, I know well, we know I'm ADHD for a start, and I get a bit excited and I'll, well, the funniest example of my sewing is Peter. Got this, it's like a turquoisey coloured shirt to get married in because my dress had turquoise and what have you in it. And the sleeves are too long. So I said, I'll take those up, no problem. So I unpicked the cuff, carefully cut it off, stitched it all back up again, and put the pleats and everything in it. And I looked at it and thought, that's not bad, you can't tell. And then that was that night. And then the next day I went to attack it again, and I picked up the sleeve, cut it off, put the cuff back on and everything. But perfect, looked wonderful. Gave him his shirt, and the morning we got married. It wasn't until we were standing there getting married, he said, look at this, you stupid blah, 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 blah. And he took his coat off, and one sleeve was twice as short as the other. I'd done such a good job. I cut the same amount off the same sleeve and put the cuff that I'd unpicked back on again. And so one was radically still too long, and the other one was radically short. It was up near his elbow. So it was...
And there commenced the marriage.
No, it's very funny. And I made a girlfriend a pair of pants recently, and I couldn't remember where she wanted the pockets, so I just whacked them in the side. And she said, I love these pants, you know. I need my keys every time I walk. I put the pocket so that her purse would be down near her knees. I sound like a complete twit, but that was... My friends think it's a bit of an eccentric side to me that sometimes I lose the plot. Yet other times I can make them an outfit that'll be designer plus. They could wear to the ballet or, or anywhere. And in the days when I was going out to all these amazing functions and meeting amazing people like the Queen or different presidents from around the world and what have you, I used to make my own clothes for those sort of things.
Wow.
So I wouldn't turn up to a function somewhere and see someone in the same thing.
That's one way of guaranteeing it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. How did that feel, meeting people like that for you?
They're just people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You took the Australian egalitarian sort of approach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just people. And I'm not a mental giant, so I've got to get into some deep and meaningful, so I just talk about everyday things and what have you.
So there'll be some people out there that have been labelled with that old label of ADHD and listening to you and thinking, look, if she can do it, hopefully they're listening to you and thinking, well, if she can do it, then I can do it.
Yeah, you can do anything, really. You just got to be mindful of other people.
Yeah.
How you're going to impact other people. I've slowed down a bit in my old age. Not much, Peter reckons, but a bit. I still do a lot of different things. But ADHD is, I think, a bonus. And Peter used to say, you never finish anything. And I say, well, just look around you. You know, a normal person would start 10 things and they would finish 10 things.
Yep.
I might start in that same time 30 things, and that's no exaggeration. I would have 30-odd things on the go at once.
Yep.
And out of those 30 things, I might finish 20 of them.
Yes.
So I'm way ahead of a normal person.
Exactly right. I love that.
Yeah, I look at ADHD as a positive in that sense, because you're always doing so many different things, and some people may struggle. I struggle with the amount of things that I haven't finished. There's still a lot of things in my workshop, or my sewing room, or my painting studio. They're all full of bits and pieces, but I've got all the ideas there.
So it's a superpower, really?
Can be. Can be.
So talking of painting, I'm very lucky to have one of your pieces on my wall at home. Very lucky. I feel very privileged to have that. And you said to me it was something you had seen when you'd been out sailing. Now, obviously, you don't paint when you're on the boat.
No.
So how do you recall that and repaint it? How does your brain work to do that?
Well, a lot of my paintings are still lifes, where I set up this tea set, for example, and paint that. Used to be, or the ocean. I think the best painting I ever did came out of my head. I mean, sure, I've painted, done a lot of paintings based on the photographs that I took from my trip. But the best ones that I've done have just come out of my head. I think where it's just the ocean. And I don't ask me where they come from. They happen. I don't really know.
Well, Darren and I certainly love ours.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really lovely. So because it's a piece of you that we have in our lounge room.
That's nice.
That's a really nice thing.
I was only half finished when I got the sponsorship to do the first Trans-Tasman race, and then I was still working on it, finishing it when I got back, and then I got the sponsorship to do the big trip.
How did you get that sponsorship?
Well, I knocked on a lot of doors. I wrote a lot of letters. A lot of people laughed and said, no, a woman couldn't do that. But Marcus had sponsored me and a girlfriend to do the two-handed Trans-Tasman race from Sydney to New Zealand, and then sponsored me to do the New Zealand to Mooloolaba race. And I asked him, he was one of the first people I asked about the big trip, and he said, no, not really, we're not really interested in that. So I spent a bit of time looking, and then we went out for dinner one night up at Palm Beach, and I was telling him about it, and I said, look, one of the things I didn't mention is that I've got to figure a way I want to raise money for kids. And he said, well, why didn't you tell me that in the first place? Because that was a big thing of his. And so that's how that came about.
There you go. So to him, you gave him a really good reason to do it over and above what you were actually doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why you put the money behind it. And you're still friends now with Marcus, aren't you?
Oh, very good friends.
Yeah.
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 Well, like brother and sister, really.
Yeah. That's lovely.
like I said before, he reckons I call a spade a fucking shovel. So, yeah, I bet you do. You don't. No, he's he said at a big function once, it was his, I don't know, 60, 70 years at Blackmore's or something, I don't know what it was. And he stood up and said, I was sitting in the front, he made reference to his wife and everything and his CEO, and then said, and for that one, she was the one that told me I was effing deaf and I had to get some hearing aids. And I was. So.
See, that's a true friend.
Yeah.
Does that?
Yeah.
Yep. Because they won't listen to their wives, so on that sort of subject, so they need another.
No, it was very funny.
Another person they respect to tell them that. It comes down to.
If no one else is game enough to say the things you say.
Talking of which, you once said in an interview that you're afraid of sharks and that you've sailed around the world.
Yeah, I am afraid of sharks.
Why are you afraid of where does that come from?
I don't know. Sharks, spiders and snakes, the 3 S's.
Gosh. All 3. And you live in Australia?
Yeah. Killed a few snakes here. I killed a brown snake outside Lee's bedroom in Newport.
Oh, they're nasty.
They are nasty, and I didn't know they were the ones that chase you. Otherwise, I wouldn't have killed it. I would have run a mile.
Yeah.
But it was outside my baby's bedroom, so I had to go for it then.
Yeah, a mother will do anything for their children, right? Yeah. Gosh. And that's just, was it something that happened in your childhood that made you afraid of them, or were you taught something at school to make you afraid of them, or what?
No, I don't know.
Happened?
I don't know. Even after I got back, if there was a big spider in the old house we were living in at the time, I used to go and get the neighbour to come and get it out of the house. Got to say, he must have thought I was pretty loopy.
So I know you are a little bit frustrated, Kay, with the demise of sailing in sailing clubs, that it's not as popular as it used to be, perhaps in the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, am I right in saying that, first of all? Yeah. Do you think there are some things that we can do to fix that?
I don't know. I've been away from it for a fair while in that sort of thing. I used to be involved in it, and I was involved in sailability for the disabled sailors.
Mm. Which is a great
thing still going. Yeah. And also an award. I got New South Wales Sports Minister and Department asked me, they wanted to give me an award. And they asked me what sort of thing I'd like. And I said, well, I don't want a trophy or anything like that. I'd like an sailing encouragement award. And it started off going to be one child. There's 6 regional areas in New South Wales. Mm-hmm. And there was going to be one child from each region plus an instructor going to stay at the Narrabeen Sports Academy. By the time we'd figured it, there were 4 children from each region and 2 instructors or 3 instructors plus a couple of trainee instructors from all over New South Wales. And so the government trained them in or whatever, got them in to Narrabeen. And these kids, one of the criteria was that they had never been sailing before.
Okay, love it.
You weren't allowed to use means testing. But there was a certain leaning towards demographics.
Less privileged, as it were. Yeah.
Yes. And that went for, golly, how long did that go for? 20-something years.
Wow.
And some of those kids had never even been to a city before.
Oh, gosh.
Some of them had never seen the ocean before. And it was one of the best things I was ever involved in because they'd stay at Narrabeen and they'd learn boating. John Anderson was Australian, New South Wales Sailing Association, and he and a mate, old mate, used to run it, and then they had the kids as the instructors, and then they had instructors that, when they were fully trained, would go back out to the different regions.
Yeah.
And the things that they did fascinated me. Sometimes they'd go back home and they'd start a project with either their family or neighbours or whoever to build a sailing dinghy.
Yeah.
Or to build a dinghy. Or some of them just got into it and joined clubs on lakes and dams and wherever else they were, or rivers, and they'd start sailing seriously. Some of them went on to become Australian and international sailors.
Oh, that's fantastic, isn't it?
But what I loved about it was, out of the week they were there, one day was spent, they were taken into the city.
Yeah.
The National Maritime Museum, and on ferries and all over the place, Manly ferries and things, have a look around. So that was one day. Another day, the Royal Prince Alfred Yacht Club had a race that afternoon, and the kids would all come down to the yacht club after they'd had their fun day, and some of them learnt to windsurf and all different things.
Yeah.
They'd come down and they'd be billeted out on all the different yachts at the yacht club and go sailing on a yacht.
Wow.
And then the Alfreds used to put on a sausage sizzle and a barbecue or something for all the kids before they were trucked back to there. And that was very funny, because when all the kids would go on those boats, I always took out people like the Minister for Sport and the department and what have you.
Mm.
And sometimes some of the kids on my boat to go sailing.
Mm.
If you could devise a way of something like that, that was purely in introducing kids that had never set foot basically on a boat before.
Mm.
As I said, that was one of the criteria. A couple of kids snuck in that I wasn't too happy about, like their fathers owned big yachts or something, and they just thought it would be fun to go to the camp for the week. Wasn't impressed with that. Don't put that in. Just some little pricks. And they were very young.
Yeah.
That was the other thing. I think it was between 12 and 16 or 12 and 17. Anyway,
just at a time when boys are going through that tricky transition of boy to man too.
Yeah, and girls.
Which is,
girls.
And girls too.
Yeah.
So they're all going through that hormonal nightmare.
Yeah.
So giving them a focus like that is a really good, and especially an outdoor activity focus.
Yeah. No, it was a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
And out of all the awards I got, that was one of the ones I'm most proud of.
Yes, it would be.
Because it was a living award.
Yeah.
And
it was the one that gave back.
Gave back. And it lived for years. So if you can think of some way to do that and someone to finance it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was lucky because the state government took it under their sporting wing.
Yeah. So let's go back to that board moment at the Maritime Museum. Is it the Maritime Museum?
National Maritime Museum.
National Maritime Museum. Mm-hmm. That you were on a board as a woman at a time when that was quite a rare thing to occur. Would you agree?
Was it done 30 years ago?
Yeah.
30.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I was quite surprised I got chosen to be on that board, actually. I was chosen first on the Australia-New Zealand Foundation Board, and that was encouraging arts and exchange between Australia and New Zealand, and I found that good, interesting. And then I was invited to go on the National Maritime Museum Board. I was on a couple of other things. I was like sailability, different things like that. And the Maritime Museum Board, I was so nervous. What am I doing here? I'm sitting here with heads of industry and professors of history and all these amazing people. And I thought, what am I doing here? You know?
Well, there we are. Yes, we're going to leave you in suspense. There is an episode 3 of Kay Cotty, and I look forward to sharing that with you soon. And if you'd like to know more about what I do and where I am, then you can follow me on Instagram at The Boat Princess. You can also sign up to my newsletter on my website, which is theboatprincess.com. And in doing so, you'll actually receive a code so that you can instantly enjoy complimentary from Ocean Magazine, their digital subscription until January 2022. That magazine is absolutely fantastic, beautifully put together, so much information about new boat models coming out, luxury lifestyle items, and what's going around all over the world in the boating industry. So just go to my site at www.theboatprincess.com, sign up for my newsletter, and you'll receive that gift from myself and Ocean Magazine. Take care of yourselves, everyone, and hopefully we'll see you on the water soon.